Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this one, what I wanted to do, I want to validate a Vnet to Vnet connection that I have created within my Azure region. So if you look at this particular documentation from Azure, you can configure Vnet to Vnet connection, and there are multiple ways you can do it. You can use a partial, CLI, or even the portal, or even the classic model to do that. So this is kind of what I have right now. I have one virtual network and another virtual network, one in the East US, another in the West US. We have created that, and then we have configured the virtual gateway subnet in both of them. Then we deployed a VPN gateway resource in both of them. Finally, we made two connections, one from here to the other one and another from the west to east, and we have used the shared access key to make the connection. So let's go to Azure and just show you what we have. If I go to home, resource group, you will see I have a test RG1 and test RG2. Those are the two resource group. If you go to the resource group 1, you have this test Vnet, okay, the gateway, the IP, and the connection, okay, from Vnet 1 to Vnet 4. We have created all four, and if you go to the next other one, you will see the similar setup, and this is in the West US. It's we have the virtual network, there is the gateway, there is the IP address that is used by the gateway, and here is the connection that is back from 4 to 1. If you click on any of the connection object, okay, or you really actually, if you go to come back over here and go to the gateway subnet and go to connections, this connected means that they should be properly connected. So that's kind of where we stopped, and in this video we want to really deploy a couple of virtual machines and absolutely make sure that they can talk to each other. Okay, so let's get started with that. So to do that, what I'm actually gonna do, if I'm gonna come over here, do Vnet peering Azure docs. So, and I'm gonna go here and let's see if they have something that I can use. No, not that one. Let's see, Azure connect virtual networks, maybe go there. Yeah, I think we can use this one, communication between the VMs. So although this is not a Vnet peering, but we're gonna use the same method for do our testing. Okay, so we're gonna deploy a VM1 and VM2 in two different locations, and the main thing that we need to do is here we need to enable the ICMP packets, and once this is enabled, we can do the ping command to validate that we have connectivity. Alright, so let's get started. So if we're here, let's go home and I'm just search for virtual machines and get to a virtual machine. Okay, and I'm gonna create, say, the latest and greatest version of Windows 2000 server. So that would be 2019 data center generation 1. That's what I have. I want to call it VM East because I'm going to deploy that in the East US, and I'm going to put it inside the test RG resource group, and I don't need any availability features. Then I need a username and a password, and validate my password. Okay, and I am going to keep this port open for RDP connection, and then go to disk. We're not going to do anything in here. Networking, since we have selected this particular virtual network resource group, this is the only virtual network that is available there. So here gateway subnet, look at that, you cannot choose anything because that is dedicated for your virtual network gateway. But you can choose the backend or the front end. Okay, let's choose the backend, which is fine. It's going to create a public IP address for us. Basic NIC NSG is good, and I'm going to go to management, and I'm going to turn off the boot diagnostics, so I don't need any storage account for that logging activity information. Boot diagnostics. Then tags, we're not going to do anything. Review and create. And if the validation is successful, we are going to click on the create button to deploy this particular machine, and it's going to cost me about 20 cents per hour. Okay, so let's see what's going on. So I hit create, so it should start this deployment, and while this deployment is going on, I'm going to go back to home. I don't really need to wait for this deployment to be done. So I'm going to click the virtual machine again, click add, and let's see, it took me back to this deployment page again. So let's just go back over here, virtual machine. Let's do this one more time. Click add virtual machine, and this time I'm going to create the resource group, the other resource group. I'm going to call it the VM West. That's where I'm deploying, and that's the West US, and we're going to choose the Windows 2019 data center, and let's actually choose a little bit less expensive SKU. So let's figure out which one is the cheapest. So this looks like the cheapest one that's available. So I'm just gonna get that one, 1197. It's gonna give me 1 vCPU, 1 gigs of RAM, 2 data disk, and only 320 input output operations. Okay, but that's fine with me. So let's get that one, and let's do student as the username, and that's my password. Okay, here's my another verification password, and rest of the configuration I'm gonna keep the same. On the networking, this time is choosing that test Vnet 4 backend. Again, you cannot choose the gateway subnet. Backend deployment is fine, everything else is good. Management, again, I'm going to disable my boot diagnostics. Advanced, we're not doing anything. Tags, we're not doing anything, and we're just going to create this particular virtual machine. And this one should cost me way less, like it's not even 2 cents, right, per hour. So I really like that. So as soon as the validation is done, we're going to deploy these particular virtual machines as well. Okay, so that started the deployment, and it's initializing deployment. And while this is going on, what we can do, we can go back home and see if the other machine is already running. It looks like the deployment has been successful, so we are going to connect to this particular virtual machine. So it's going back to that deployment page again. So let's go back home, click on the virtual machine, go to the virtual machine itself, and get the IP address. And what we would like to do, we would like to connect, and I use Remina, and in my Ubuntu machine to connect, you can use your standard RDP connection the way you do it in Windows to connect to this machine. So here I'm just need to provide my username and my password. Okay, so that's all. Domain name is not required, and I say yes or okay, and it should connect me to this particular virtual machine, and as you can see that it has started connecting me to the machine. So what I'll do, I'll prepare this machine we need to enable the ICMP traffic for this one, right? So as I said, to do that, what do you need to do? You need to run this particular command from your PowerShell. Okay, so let's go back in here. Network discovery, I usually say yes. Depending on your situation, you can decide on that. And over here I'm gonna search for PowerShell. It's now loading all the server manager and stuff like that, which I don't need right now. I just need the PowerShell. And once the PowerShell is available to me, I just want to run this command: new net firewall rule, display name allow ICMP in, and protocol ICMP v4. And if I hit enter, it should add a rule where I should be able to, somebody else should be able to ping this machine. Okay, just give it like 10 seconds maybe, and this rule should be added, and then we'll look at the other machine, do the same thing. Okay, so this is the inbound, and now it's allow. Okay, so let's go back to over here to a machine, go to virtual machines. By this time it's still not deployed, so this deployment is still in progress. So you can click on that one to take a look at the deployment, and look at this deployment is also done. So west, let's do the same thing. Get the IP address, come back over here and say new window, and put the new IP address for the west machine. Hit enter. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, hopefully I have the right password. Click yes, and if it's correct, now note that this machine that where I'm trying to log in this time, it's cannot connect to that server, so most likely I did not do my password properly. So let's do it one more time. Is it the right one? Yeah, so let's see if we can do this. Now looks like it worked. And again, bear in mind this virtual machine is much slower than this virtual machine, so it will take just a little bit longer than the other one to give you what you need. Okay, so but shouldn't take too long. It should be still workable. So okay, we are almost there. So what we want to do, once we log into this machine, we would like to do the same thing. We'll go to the PowerShell and allow the ICMP connection to this machine as well, and then we'll log into this machine, ping that one, and then from this one we're going to ping the other one and make sure we can talk to each other. Okay, so that will prove that the Vnet to Vnet connection that we have created, it's working properly and we have network connection. Okay, so it's still taking a little bit of time, and now things are showing up. And while this is going on, what I'll do a host name first, just to prove that this is the East VM, and then I want to go back to Azure. So this is still VM West. I want to copy that private IP address. Okay, and what I'll do, I'll try to ping that virtual machine using the IP address, and I should not be able to do that because we have not enabled the IP address rule in that particular virtual machine. So now we'll come over here. Okay, and I don't need the server manager here, I just need the PowerShell again. Okay, so once I have the PowerShell, I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to get this command again. Actually, I'm just going to do copy this way. Sometimes the other copy doesn't work when I pasting in this window. Now this is now also successful, and from this one I do host name. Oh, this is the West, so I'm in the wrong virtual machine. So click yes, and then click here for the PowerShell. Okay, this is the slow machine, so bear with me. So I'm just going to do PowerShell. Come on, PowerShell. One. I just said one just to tell you that I'm still here. It's so slow that it's not doing anything. Okay, let me do this. Let me pause. Let me bring up the PowerShell. Then we'll start the video. Alright, so I actually opened up the PowerShell and just ran this command just now. It's now trying to add the new rule to this virtual machine, which is deployed in the west region. So as soon as this rule is enabled, what we'll do, we will run the ping command from here. So previously we were not able to connect from here to the other machine, and now look at that. So now I have a connection. Now I can make connection because we just added the new rule. Although it's not showed up in here that we have actually added, it shows slow, but it has already done its work, because now we can connect. So this proves that our connection is working just fine from east to west. So now this one, as soon as I have the output back, we can, yeah, this is now done, looks like. So here what we can do, we can go back to again our Azure portal, go home and look at the virtual machine, and look at the VM East one, and look at this IP address, and that's 10.12.04. We're gonna go back to the virtual machine, and this is, if I do host name, this one should be the west machine, and it is. From here, so if I do a ping on the machine that is hosted in the east region, now look at that. So this is giving me packets back, so we can talk to each other, although we are using completely different address space. So our connection that we made using a Vnet to Vnet connection is working just fine. Okay, so if you want to know how we did the connection, please do a search for Vnet to Vnet in my channel, and you should be able to find, I have 3 different videos where I did this connection using Azure portal, using the PowerShell, and also using the CLI. This is a very important topic for a lot of Azure exams, so make sure that you understand how to do this, be comfortable, and if you're studying for the exam, good luck. Please subscribe and leave your valuable comments for me to improve these videos. Thank you very much.